So real easy to put these things together. First thing I like to do is line up these guys this way, put this roof in here just to keep everything square, and then I like to use a CA glue, something that's real quick. You can use just about any kind of glue you want, any kind of craft glue or something, but I find that a couple of drops in there and then some spray accelerator just helps me to move right on to the next step as quickly as possible. So get the other end on there, and I'll put a couple of drops here. Come on, down here. I'll go across here, and I didn't put any here last time, so I'll do that. It's just a few drops here and there, and some accelerator. Hold it for a few seconds, and then I'll pop this end on, this side or end or whatever you like to call it, and then again just a few drops here and there, and some accelerator. Okay, so that thing's together. So that's the easy bit right there. It goes together in a few seconds. Next, you're going to want to fill in these ends and these slots here with a little bit of vinyl spackling plaster. This you can get at your local Home Depot or do-it-yourself store. So I just put a bit of this in there. I put extra because it does shrink just a little bit. And some in there. Fill in that thing. Go around to the other side. So you can see this is kind of a quick and dirty process here. You don't have to be super neat with it. And you're going to, like I said, put on a little extra because the plaster does shrink. You may even find after it dries and you sand it off, you may want to put on a second application because sometimes it'll shrink down into the areas there that it filled up and it'll look a little low. Now these areas across the top here, you may want to do those as well. I like doing them. It just makes for a nicer model. And it doesn't take that much time. Go ahead and fill that in. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let that dry for a few minutes. Okay, well, we've let this plaster dry, and now we're going to sand it off. I've got one of these cool foam sanding blocks. This is about 150 grit. Now we'll just knock this plaster down. You want to make sure you don't push too hard. You don't want to sand into the paper facing on the foam board because then it'll just kind of fuzz up on you. So you want to be kind of gentle and sand just enough to get the plaster off, and that's it. Now this doesn't have to be perfect because these are Middle Eastern style buildings, which are, usually, a little rough. They're not finished, smooth as glass. Now once you've got it down to this point here, you can go around and check and see if the plaster is low anywhere and then apply some more if you want. In this case, I probably would add a little more because there are a few low spots, but it depends on what kind of finish you're going to put on this. If you're just going to paint it right now, then yeah, I would probably add a little bit more. If you're going to go with a textured finish, then maybe it might not be necessary. Now there are some commercially available paints that are textured. They have a little bit of a stone finish to them. Rust-Oleum makes a couple. This is one that has different colored flecks in it. I don't know if that's going to show up on the camera so well or not, but that's an interesting one. And then this one is a single color, but it also has a bit of a texture to it. So something like this could probably go on right away. You might want to put a primer on it first you know, you'll have to experiment with different finishes there. But what I really want to show you today is this here, this spray texture. This particular brand I picked up at, it was either Lowe's or Home Depot, I'm not sure. But you could probably find something like this just about anywhere. This is for making repairs to, like, you know, interior walls in your house, drywall that you've had to patch and things like that. So this is pretty cool. It actually sprays on like a plaster. So if you're using a texture like this, this doesn't have to be anywhere near perfect because you're going to just cover the whole thing with this texture. And let me grab a glove and we'll spray some on there and I'll show you how it works. Okay, so we shake this stuff up real good. I shook it up a little earlier, so it's not going to take much shaking now, but you want to make sure it's shook up real good. And then you just take your model. I wouldn't normally do this on a tabletop like this because this stuff's just going to get everywhere. But we'll just spray a little on there and see what happens. Now there's two things you can do at this point. One, you can leave it with this texture on there, or you can let this start to dry, and then I think the term they use is called knocking it down, where you take a spatula or a putty knife or something and you run across it and it gives it a different look. So this here is the way it looks now, just sprayed on, and then this over here is the knockdown look. And that looks pretty cool on models. So I'm going to let this dry for a minute and I'm going to do the knockdown. Now this is something you're going to have to experiment with a little bit because depending on how long you allow this to dry is going to determine what the finish is going to look like. So I think I've let it dry just about long enough. So I just lightly drag this over. Maybe in two different directions. And hopefully you can see in the video what sort of texture it's given. It's just knocked the tops off of all those bubbles of texture and made it look kind of a stucco or, you know, mud or whatever. And that's all there is really to that. So we'll let this dry a little while longer, just paint it one color and see what it looks like. Alright, well, to speed things up just a little bit, I went ahead and hit this with a heat gun and dried up the texture that's on there. It's a little bit too flat and smooth here in the center and a little bit here, and the areas where I did the corners look like I could have put a little more plaster in there. So what I'm going to do is apply another coat just to build up more texture all around, and hopefully it'll hide these corners a little better. So let's go ahead and do that right now. A little more on the corners. And then right in the center. Okay, so I'll go ahead and let that start to dry, and then I'll do the knockdown again, and we'll see what it looks like. But I think it'll be just fine this time. Right, so I sprayed a little more on here, and while I was letting it dry, it's not completely dry, you don't want to let it completely dry, but while it was drying, a thought occurred to me, rather than using the big putty knife here, what if you took a small one and went different directions and stuff? I wonder what that would do. So let's just try that and see if it makes a difference. A little more random, the way it really would be. Yeah, it's going to leave a few lines in random directions, and that's probably what you'd see in real life. Okay, so it looks like this second coat filled in the corners a little better, gave a little more texture to those areas that were too flat. I think this is going to be pretty good. So I'll let this dry, and I think I'll just shoot it with this paint here. This one here has very, very fine texture to it. It's not like this one here, the multicolored one that has almost like little pebbles in it. So I think this color here, which is sandstone, all over the whole thing, is probably going to look pretty cool. So we'll give that a try as soon as this is good and dry. Ladies and gentlemen, well, there it is, all textured up. Looks pretty cool. I think it's going to be just fine. I'm going to go ahead and just shoot it fairly lightly with this Rust-Oleum textured sandstone. Now at this point you could use water-based paints, acrylics, house paint, oils, you know, whatever you want. I'm using this because it's just quick. I want to show you guys how quick and easy you can put these together and still get a decent result. We'll let that dry, see what it looks like when it dries and it flattens out. Okay, well there it is, it's done. It's real basic. Like I was saying before, I could have spent a little more time in the corners cleaning them up if I wanted to. When I was doing the vinyl spackling, I could have went around the door frames in here and filled in if I wanted to. Not real necessary. Looks fine if you just want to plop it down and have a building out in the middle of the desert. Other little techniques I want to show you. What I like to do is take some polyscale dirt color and go around the bottom of the model because it would be dirty. Now you can airbrush this, or you can do what's called dry brushing, where you just take a little bit of the paint on your brush, get most of it off, and then just kind of brush over it like this. That sort of dirty look around the perimeter. Again, I don't know how well that's picking up on video, but it just gives it a little more interesting look there. Okay, so another thing you can do now is take a lighter color, lighter than the base color, like in this case I have an aged white, which will work good, and you can highlight the high spots, which will give it more depth. And that's another dry brushing technique. So I got the aged white, nice clean brush, do the same thing and just really, really lightly brush over, just hitting the high spots of the texture. That's your basic finishing, texturing, assembly, texturing, painting of a mat board Middle East building. And it's pretty durable too. You know, some people hear foam board and they think it's going to be very fragile and they're going to, you know, it's going to last for one game and then it's going to be trash. But no, this is, you know, this is pretty sturdy. As long as you don't mash it or, you know, lean on it or do anything silly, it's going to last you a pretty good long time. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that, and if you have any more questions for me, just send me an email and I will always answer your questions. Thank you very much.